Here's a quick little walkthrough on how I use Dehancer in this music video. Alright, so the first thing that I do is when I bring a project into the color page. I didn't shoot log on this project, so we don't have to do any type of like Rec 709 conversion, and this is straight out of camera how it looks. What I typically will do is like slight minor adjustments first. I'll break them up. So I'll break them up by nodes. I'll have my primaries and my curves in two separate ones. And with those, it's not a lot I'm doing. I'm going and doing little subtle things. So like primaries, I do like basic adjustments just within the primaries color wheels. And that's a little bit of saturation, a little contrast. I warmed it up a bit. You can see here the warm and the temp is pushing more towards the warm, and that's it on and off. So you can kind of see, just get a little pop, a little color, a little pop, and then the curves. I just essentially am creating a slight, very very slight S curve, and it's barely one. It's like so slight. I'll do like editable spleens, and you kind of see the line here how it comes out, which is slightly different. When you don't, it's slightly different from when you're just doing it without the editable spleens on. It just kind of gives you a little extra controls, extra handle, kind of like, just kind of go in and fine tune things a little bit. So I like to use that. Go back to what I had. So that right there is just me creating a little bit of boost, a little pop, getting it to a place that I am happy with it before I go in with the film look. I name all my nodes, but I named this one film look. So this is where we're using Dehancer, the Dehancer plugin, to create this look. I'm running the most updated version right now. So this is what we came up with after the fact. So I'll just kind of turn things off and I'll take you step by step so you can kind of see what I did. My starting point was either between the Kodak, the experimental one. I also liked the Fuji Color C200, but I think what made me lean towards the other one the most for this was I liked that. It looked cool and I liked it, but I felt like it was kind of going more, not desaturated, but just kind of like not as much color. The color wasn't exactly what I was looking for, and I felt like this was creating more of that. You kind of see what it was doing in the shadows too. I liked it, which was cool. Like it's more that cooler tone, the blue, like a more cooler blue tone, which is totally fine. There's no right or wrong, just preference. When I saw this, I really liked what it was doing with the skin. So that was kind of like my base point. I was like, all right, I like the skin tones better here, and it's push, but it's more, magenta, you get that color in there. It just felt a little bit more lively to me and fit the feeling that I was going for. So after that though, that's not where I stopped. That was just like my starting point. So the thing I like about Dehancer is that you can kind of go in. Obviously you can pick the profile you want, but you don't have to stop there. You can go in and really start to push more things, and you can toggle whatever on and off that you don't want to mess with. So you can go in and really, adjust things a lot. You can really go in and really adjust things. I really do like that. I like that about it. Another thing you can do is decide on what print you want to use. So I think I decided to go with linear, so I'm gonna go enabled. But you can kind of go Cinelog. Well, you don't. I mean, just putting it back in the log spot. But you can print Fujifilm 3513 print film. You got Kodak 2383 print, and I like glossy paper a lot. The Kodak Endura glossy. I just like how that looks. But I decided to just leave it linear, just kind of keep it there. Color head, and this is where I really started making a lot of tweaks to the color, and I ended up warming it up a lot. So I did like this, but it still wasn't like as warm as I wanted it to be. So I like the skin that it does change. It gave like a nice little undertone with the magenta, and now adding in the more yellow essentially. I toned it down a little bit and pushed it to the greens. You can see the magenta and the green channel there. So you can kind of see, because it was a lot of green here that I didn't really care for. So I wanted to get some of that out. I still get that magenta feeling there in their skin. It's not as much as it was. I feel like the magenta felt like it was like more bleeding into everything. Whereas now, put this enabled, you get some of that yellow, that warmth back into it. So this is like where I wanted it color wise, essentially. So we're happy with that. So you kind of see on and off so far. This is the starting point after I did my basic corrections and primaries and curves. And now we're here. So from this point, this is now where we start getting to what most people are looking for, the film look, the grain. So with film grain, you have so many different types. So I didn't want this to be overly pushed. So my thought was I want it to look like natural. Obviously, this was not shot on film, but I didn't want it to feel like it was overdone. I wanted it to be subtle, but be there. I want you to feel it. So that's why I went with the 65 mil ISO 50, which is just, how ISO works for any camera, like digital cameras. The lower ISO settings you go to, the cleaner your image would be. You have less noise. So you kind of just go in and duck. So for example, I'll show you what I mean. So if I go to ISO 500, you'll see more grain pop up. It's noisy. It's more noisy. That's how I look at it. Versus, and you get like 8 mil at 500. Oh, they don't even have less than that. Let's go to 16 500. Now let's go to 16 50. You see less grain there. Not as noisy. So I'm setting it as though it's a lower ISO sensitivity. Then you can also do 35 mil, which I really like 35 mil too. 35 mil is probably generally my favorite, I'd say. But I don't know. I really do like 65. It has more of a modern feel to it. I thought about going 35 50 because this was probably as far as I would go with it. But I still felt like it was just caked on. It just felt like, yeah, you just threw, which I did. I am throwing a film grain emulation filter onto the image, but I wanted to try to interweave it. So that's why I was like, I'm gonna go 65. It's a cleaner, the grain is smaller, it's cleaner. So 65 50 is what we ended up at. So you see it's not like, it's like it just adds texture. I just love what it does to it. Just kind of just brings it all together. But yeah, so that's on and off. It just makes it feel like it has texture. You can feel it. It has a little weight. So my next probably favorite thing to do is throw halation on. So again, you can really change it up and use different ones. I would say the halation is a lot more pronounced with the lower millimeters you go with. So if you go with a super 8, so it will enable it. And you can kind of see on and off what it's doing. I tend to look at like just the bright parts of an image. So like we'll use her earrings here, on and off. You see it does that. It just is a cool little look that you get. How with the light, you see it on his shirt some, on and off. But I again wanted it to be subtle. Don't want it to be overly done. If you look in the orange parts here, you see it there as well. Slight, but you see it. Let's go 8 mil. That's a cool look, if you're going for that. But I don't want it to be like, oh, look at all the attention. My attention goes straight to that because I didn't want it to be about that. I don't want the film grain look I don't want the film look to overtake it. 35 is also cool, but I decided to go with 65 70 mil one. Okay, next is bloom. And it tends to add like a little it's just a little something extra, just a little, like, I don't know if you want to call it like a little haze to your image, but it just blooms in the highlight some. You kind of see the brighter parts kind of like pop out a little bit more, and it just kind of creates a little, I don't know, a little, I guess rapid isn't necessarily the right words, like a softness to it that I like. That to me, bloom to me, I think really is a lot of times the bloom and the halation, even more in the actual grain, to me is what really pushes that film look. Because obviously, grain, you can just get grain, you can get a grain pack or textures and just overlay that on top of a video and just use composite blend modes and do that. But these are the things that more of the qualities or attributes that film has that people don't usually talk about a lot, because usually, oh, film grain, yeah, that is a big part of it, obviously. But then there's the bloom, there's the halation, there's film breathing, gate weave. There's certain things that happens with film that's just a natural reaction of how the chemicals and yada yada work when you're exposing. And I'm not getting into all that stuff. But it's just a certain way that it reacts and the quality that it has that I really like, that a lot of film, the not packs, but like emulation plugins do a good job of. And like I said, I use Dehancer, but you can do this with any other. I mean, there are a lot of them out there. Dehancer is the one I use. If you are interested in checking out Dehancer, if you want to buy any of their products, I actually have a discount code you can use, IBZ10. So I'll put that in the description. So if you want to get 10% off, you can do that. You can use that. I'm not sponsored by them, just an affiliate code I have. Film damage, I can add that in too, but I decided not to because I don't want, again, this video isn't about, and a lot of this you'll see when it plays, more so. Gate weave, film breathing, I'm not going to add any of that. A lot of times what you'll see is like you'll see like the image kind of like is it breathing is what it will look like while it's playing. It'll be like kind of moving, but I didn't want to add any of that in. So yeah, and the other cool thing is if you want to adjust the output, let's say you don't want it to be as pronounced as you have it, you can always pull it down and play with it. But to me, I don't want to mess with the output because I want it to look to be there. But if I feel like it was too much, I could tone it down. If the client was like, oh, I feel like it's a little much, instead of having to go through each individual thing, I could just do it overall and pull it back. But you start losing what it's doing, so I want all of it there. Yes, okay, that's off. Bloom. Yeah, so that is pretty much it. Well, again, I'll do a before and after, or off and on. This is, started here, added our primaries, did that, and then I finished it off with the film look, on and off. That's it for this video. If you have any questions about this process or comments or whatever, feel free to leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer any questions you may have. And if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to stay tuned. Leave a like if you liked the video, if you found it helpful, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Peace.